Friday afternoon show. We're still in Cheyenne, Wyoming, still at the wonderful Rodeo Arena and Fairgrounds here in Cheyenne as they kick off the biggest event in this city every single year. I mean, it is citywide, too. They call it Frontier Days. I get focused on the rodeo itself, but there's so much more to it. And in a minute, I'll give you another walk around for folks just tuning in, show you what we're doing and where we are, and invite you to join us at 4 o'clock for something I don't think we've ever done here on the show. 17 years is a long time. We've done a lot of things. I think at one point during one of these traveling shows, and I can't remember if you were there on the other end that day, but I did a show out of Santa Fe, and randomly there were these American Indian singers that happened to be in the square.
Yeah, I was there.
Remember that I just got them to play live on the radio, and it was a little something different. Well, today we're going to actually, if everything works out for us technical wise, in about an hour we're going to present to you some Native American singing and dancing from a brand new venue and stage. Basically, it's a sunken in the round amphitheater that they called their Morning Star, which has so much symbolism as it relates to their culture. We interviewed one of the people on the board that helped get this project together and pull all the funding together. But today was the dedication. So as I was getting ready to set up, we had a whole different plan for today. I was going to be over in the Cowboy Museum, and that would have been a much quieter show, an indoor show, and old saddles and old belt buckles and awards from the history of the cowboy, and especially the Wyoming cowboy. It's the image of their state. Their state flag literally has a guy riding a bucking bronco on it. It's everything that they're about here in this state. And a lot of that culture, of course, is centered. There are rodeos in every corner of the state, but the big one is here. But American Indian culture has always been side by side with that since the white man came west, since the white man landed the first boats. And through the fits and starts and the ugly parts of the history and the beautiful parts of the history, all of that culture still endures, and through some very generous donations from a guy named Mr. Hughes. I don't know much else about him. I heard him speak today, but he was inspired to donate and have them dream big and build something really impressive and state of the art here on the I call the whole place the Fairgrounds. But so they built this beautiful facility. I'll show you all around a little bit. That's the tent village, the teepee village in the back, and there's the shot that I've gotten set up today on the dance. AJ, that's the dance floor right there. No parking on the dance floor at the Indian Pavilion. I'm just telling you. So they will be in full costume. I've already seen one of their performances from a distance. I was, again, a lot of logistics to do this setup here, so I was schlepping equipment and running in the sun and taping down wires, but I think we're going to be able to hold that shot, and you should be able to hear it. And that thing will go on for quite a bit during that hour, so we'll probably give over, outside of our breaks, we'll give over a lot of that hour to letting y'all watch the performance if you're able to tune in on our YouTube channel or other platforms that we do nowadays. So this time we're able to bring the cameras along, and when you say professional, these are some of the best and most talented dancers from the American Indian community, and so we'll do that. I thought after setting up today, and I hated to let the museum down because they were very kind, and I hope Brad can come over here and meet with us here in just a little bit, but I decided, we need to do this because this was the first day. They just had their first performance. You could tell how emotional it was for everybody that was involved. And by the way, they put this project up in 24 months. When I was here 3 years ago, none of this existed. This was a big gravel parking lot, and they called it the Cowboy Camp. This is where all the cowboys and cowgirls would bring their trailers and horses and livestock and hang out while they waited for their turn to perform on the arena stage. They moved all that around, changed a lot of the security parameters around here, and took this space and built this beautiful facility. So it's multiple things. If you look behind me, those garage doors that you see back there, which way am I pointing? All the stuff that you see behind me, those are shielded and lockable vendor booths. So anytime there's a tourism element involved in anything, you got to be able to sell the trinkets and the stuff. So what they're doing is they have outfitted all of these. This is just one of them. There are, I think, 4 or 5 of these semicircular booth setups, pretty large spaces too, that they've got set up. I just happen to be in front of one that's in front of me that was empty today, which gave us the ability to plug up and do the show from this little corner. But that's what you see behind me, and those are all over here. And they've gone to great pains to vet the vendors so that all this is authentic Native American stuff. When you travel out west, You'll find a lot of people pawning off stuff that's not really legit, just to tourists, made in China stuff, T-shirts, and these kind of things. Any community does that. Anywhere you travel, you go to Disney, you get all those things too. But what they wanted here was authenticity. In fact, I passed one of these booths earlier, and this morning everybody's been setting up because the thing got kicked off in earnest here just a little while ago. And they had an actual loom in there, and they were making, I suppose they were rugs or blankets and throws with that weaving pattern, and just making them right in front of everybody. And these are the folks that have come from all over to do this. So most of this activity will take place over Frontier Days, the 10 days of Frontier Days, in addition to the fair and the carnival and the snow cones and the corn dogs and all that stuff. They've got so many vendors and booths and things like this. So if you ever want to bring your family somewhere and immerse in these really two cultures that are one culture, this Native American culture has such a presence here now. You can get a real balance of both the performances, the storytelling, and the vendor booths, and the people here, and how well everybody just gets along. And it was really a moving ceremony. So I think we made a pretty good call. Y'all can let me know after the 4 o'clock hour, because it will be kind of loud over there in that arena, but it's kind of a cool sight to see. Now, what I'm hoping, AJ, is somebody with a big, fat watermelon head doesn't come and stand in front of that camera right there, because that is a possibility.
You already know that just like when stuff like that happens, people become oblivious to like their surroundings.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, I could put the camera up another. Let's see if I can see it from my other. I could put that camera up about another foot. If I set it up on that wall, I'm gonna pan over there and show you what I'm looking at. In the old days, when we were a rich radio station, AJ and I'd be out here doing this stuff together and making these decisions. AJ, if I put that stand up on that wall, I could get a little higher and see over the crowd a little better. But I guarantee you somebody would knock that stand over.
Mm-hmm.
That thing would not last sitting up on that wall. They would just knock that thing over. So I'm going to leave it right there. I think that's the safest position. And then I'll get up this 300 feet of duct tape that I put down so somebody wouldn't. We've had baby strollers and all kind of things rolled over I just hope it lasts for another hour and a half. But anyway, hopefully we'll have a little bit of fun here, doing a little bit of something different here on a Friday as we move through everything that we've got going on. By the way, Huey Tampon, Tommy reached out to me as we were getting set up right before the show started. He is already down there at the BJC at the World Deer Expo. I got family going down there this weekend. So if you plan on going, y'all do make some effort to look for Tommy's booth. He says they got a pretty impressive booth set up. And here's what he's offering. If you go by there and you've been looking for sound suppressors, and there's a lot of people that sell guns and whatnot at this expo every single year. But make sure you spend a little time with Tommy and Adam and those guys, and tell them we said hey from the radio show, and get yourself a deal on these dead air gun suppressors, these silencers people call them. Everybody has a little different technical name for these things. And he'll knock $50 off those dead air. That's their special that they're running for the trade show. And then, of course, what we've been talking about for a couple of weeks, they'll have examples of those AR pistols down there. Those they've got them in all the 3 platforms, the 5.56, the 223, the 300 Blackout. They've got all that down there with them, so they'll have samples. I'm not sure how that works as far as buying on the spot or all the background check stuff, but of course they got all that worked out. But they're offering, they've still got those at $3.99. Go down there and see them and look at them. And this way, if you haven't had time to get over to Hueytown, or you just kind of, no pun intended, but shooting fish in a barrel, and you want to go down to the World Deer Expo and walk around anyway, you might as well get yourself a deal. And if nothing, if you're not interested in those 2 things, get to know Tommy and his team, which will be down there manning that booth. Boy, trade shows will wear you out. We've both done it, and it's a long weekend where you're just talking to people coming by, and you hope you have a good show. So there'll be should be a fun time for everybody this weekend. Probably a good time to do it and get out of the heat and get out of the rain and everything that's coming down at the BJCC and Huey Tampon. Any other time, if you can't get to the Deer Expo, you can see them on Brook Lane Drive. That's one of the main drags in Hueytown. Easy to get up and down Brook Lane. It is Huey Tampon. Again, Brook Lane Drive in Hueytown, or down at the World Deer Expo. Let's talk about this smoke out of Canada. This is pretty crazy. Now, we've had smoke I've dealt with a lot of it in this Western trip this year from the fires that they have here in the American West. and there's been an unusual drought out here, and some of it is really thick, and it just looks like deep, dense fog. But this smoke that has moved over a huge portion of the upper Midwest and over the western states, over into New York City and across Chicago, it is this thick, orange, black, toxic smoke that is just funneled into the United States. And I heard somebody on one of the TV networks last night say it was the equivalent, and I'm taking them at their word, but the health officials say it's the equivalent of smoking 10 cigarettes a day to go out and breathe this stuff. And, you know, if you know anything about city living, you really can't avoid that. If you're going to go anywhere, you got to go outside and walk. They don't, unlike us, if you, especially if you live in suburbia, some of us can go out, you can get off your couch, go in your garage, get in your car and drive somewhere and get back out of your car and not really be exposed to this kind of air. But they don't have any way to get around it. If they're going to go somewhere, they got to get out and walk blocks in a city, or so it's affecting a lot of things. It's affecting a lot of people, and of course, vulnerable people that may already have predispositions to this kind of smoke. So y'all know the story by now. This thick orange toxic, they say it's toxic, wildfire smoke that has come out of Canada. And so Trump is now weighing in on it, of course. And I don't know that I disagree with it. And I will tell you, and I'm not just rubber stamping the president, because, you know, wildfires, they can be naturally occurring. And in some ways in forests, they're very cleansing and healing to the forest. Man, you talk about American Indian culture, they used to have philosophies and phrases for all this stuff, because if a lightning calls one, what regrows after this is new and fresh and hardy, and a lot of foresters will tell you how it can make a forest more healthy. I don't know the cause of these Canadian wildfires. In Canada, for the most part, is more trees. They got millions more trees than people. It's a very very dense. I didn't mean to say dick. Did I just say that on the radio? Dense, thick forest, and when it burns, it burns. And so Trump is accusing them of not having proper forest management, and they probably don't. We do a lot of that stuff on our federal lands with cleaning up brush, prescribed burns, being able to put fires out. We've all seen the disaster that is Colorado under Gavin Newsom's leadership, and you know, this idiot Karen Bass running the city of Los Angeles. These people don't do the things to keep the fire from starting, and they don't know how to put one out in that fire-prone part of the country. So I'll give a little grace to Canada. Sometimes fires burn out of control, and I've seen it out here in the American West. But this is an international incident where you've got millions of people who are choking on this stuff and are afraid to go outside. They're having to cancel events. They're having to move things around. And what I wonder, I didn't think about this till just now, will it affect the World Cup game on Sunday? Is that an outdoor arena? I think most of them are. I don't know much about that stadium up there, but anyway, so Trump has put out a thing saying that he is going to hold Canada responsible for these fires or any damage that it's causing, because they are culpable for not managing their forest properly. I don't mind him sticking it to them. The Canadians can be difficult in that way, and they're very, very poorly managed country at present. And it doesn't have to be this way. This ought to be coordinated, and they should be using the proper techniques. Like a lot of countries, they have caved into a lot of environmental concerns that just have abject, foolish policies and foolish notions about how to manage the environment, and they've not done things properly. And now Americans are downwind from their stupidity. So we'll keep up with that story and let you know if anything else develops from it. Still haven't seen any word. Real quick, switch of subjects, on any additional bombing in Iran. Usually we get that word about this point in the show if we have stepped up or escalated anything when it comes to that country and all that's going on there. So, but we're still watching all of this stuff this afternoon, even though we're having a good time over here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Man, we got some cloud cover now. I'm digging this. I had to kind of duck into a shadowy area. I'm reporting from the shadows today. There's a saying that I picked up on around here at the rodeo and at the festival arena, and everybody I run into, I'll say, yeah, I'm just trying to stand over here in the shade, and people will say, shade is a premium. And I must have heard it 10 times today. Everybody here ducks under any tree they can find. Again, not super hot temperature wise, but when you're in the straight direct sun, even with all these cowboy hats on, it's pretty toasty. So doing our thing. Let me get the phone call screen back up, AJ. I'm sorry I turned that off for a second because again, being a computer down, I've been managing some stuff. I got Thomas in here, didn't I? Yeah. 545-9950. Y'all want to get on the radio show tonight? Kind of taking it easy. Got the foot off the gas a little bit this afternoon to be able to do this coverage from the radio, and of course we'll cover anything else that pops up in the news cycle. Let's talk for just a little bit about storm restoration roofing. My man Greg Nelson and all that he does. I love competence. The older I get more and more frustrated with two things: laziness and incompetence. It happens so much, not just in radio. But in the roofing business, you've got these people that aren't lazy at all. They're hustlers and they're schemers. And every time we'll have a storm, especially a tropical system or a big mass event, and suddenly out of nowhere they just show up in your neighborhood. They're trolling for business. Now, I respect the hustle. I respect the fact that you got to keep moving in any kind of business. But sometimes you don't know where these people came from. You don't know what their skill set is. When your roof's leaking, you'll take it. You'll take the help. You'll take a tarp. You'll put them to work. But you got to do that a better way. Now, let's talk. Whether you've got an aged roof that you know needs replacing, you're going to need Greg Nelson. If you've got a situation where it's not an aged roof and it's just an emergency situation because suddenly you've got a wind situation that's popped up and is causing you trouble, it is everything. If anything you can do to reach out to Greg and that whole team at Storm Restoration is what you should do, because he's been at this for 30 years, I think now. Sometimes I forget how long Greg's been doing it. He's been on those roofs, worked with all the adjusters, got his whole family involved, and he brings to you ethics, straightforward estimates and whatnot, competence. It'll be put in right, and the communication with the insurance adjusters and all those things you got to comply with. Here's something else you ought to know. If you do get a storm damage, don't panic. You've got time. Even if Greg's behind on the bigger projects, he'll get a crew over and get you dried out, get you tarped up, and then they'll get back to you on getting the repair done and complying with your insurance. The insurance companies have a window of several months to make one of these claims based on a weather event, and he understands all that stuff. So if you reach out to him, they will walk you through that and get you to the finish line and take care of your home. He'll be doing some roofing for me this summer, and I can't wait to see him out there at work, because when we get to that part of the project, I'll be excited. It is Storm Restoration Roofing. Y'all reach out to Greg. He works on a phone number. And by the way, I say this every time, stick this number somewhere where you can get to it if you can't find me to get it. Because people, I know you're not riding down the road usually jotting down numbers, but here it is, 205-542-3531, 205-542-3531, Storm Restoration Roofing. Back here live in Cheyenne, leading live on the road here in just a minute. All right, y'all, 326, Leland Live, Talk 99.5, continuing on with the broadcast out here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Michelson Laser Vision bringing you the show tonight. Dr. Mark and that whole team, man, I've told this story so many times. I hope y'all not getting sick of hearing it because I love telling it. I love telling how I was the bullheaded, to use a phrase. I was stubborn as a mule. They don't have very many mules here at the rodeo. And I just wouldn't listen to any of my friends that had gotten LASIK. I just poo-pooed it. Poo-pooed it. Some of y'all are poo-pooers too. But I'll tell you what, man, when they finally gave me the education and told me what it was all about, and I went through their program, and I already knew, I mean, there was no, it wasn't a matter of trust to Dr. Michelson. I knew his reputation, and I did not know Jennifer yet when I first met Dr. Michelson. But, man, it was the education and the understanding and the just making the effort to do my homework led to me going ahead and deciding to get LASIK when he told me how I was an easy fix. The surgery itself was so easy. It was just I laid on a table, didn't feel a thing, looked at a little blinky light, things get black for a second, and then you sit up off the table and you cannot believe your eyes. Literally, you're seeing clearly. Even though I had drops in my eyes, they keep all these moisteners on it when you first get up. I was instantly seeing better. The recovery period was short, no problem, and it was one of the best decisions I ever made. I just kicking myself for not doing it before that. Michelson Laser Vision. And now Dr. Jennifer, of course, doing the surgeries alongside her father. Two incredibly competent, 2 generations of caring for your eyes with the latest technology, just solid people. Get downtown to UAB Highlands and go see them. Get that exam. If you got glasses or contacts right now, just do that for yourself. Find out if you're eligible. You may not be, and then that's it. That's the end of the discussion. But if you are, let them explain it. Then you've got a decision to make, and I hope you make a good one, and I hope you are as happy with it as I am. MichelsonLaserVision.com. All right, as we hang out here outside the big rodeo arena as the tourists come and go, I'm liking my little quiet spot, but I will go ahead and promise y'all 30 minutes from now, we're about to get loud up in here with some Native American jams. They're going to play their favorite set list over here live in the brand new, newly dedicated. We're watching history today with the. This will actually be, if you hang around and watch it or listen to it on the radio if you're heading home. If you do this, it's only the second dance ever performed in this brand newly dedicated arena out here in Cheyenne. I think it's kind of cool. Y'all a little part of history today. Bottom of the hour, let's get this in here, and then we'll come back. We'll get your phone calls in and see what else we can come up with here on a Friday. Leland Live, Talk 99.5. Stay tuned. All right, y'all. Boy, it's Friday afternoon. What's the weather look like outside your door right now, AJ? Is it finally getting some sunshine? Is it finally less gloomy? Never mind. Work Trucks bringing you the show today, TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com. I do appreciate everything they do to keep people outfitted. If you got a business or nonprofit or an organization that is out there running around getting stuff done, sometimes those trucks are going to wear out. Or some of you just dream big and you want to grow your fleet, you want to grow your business or start your business, and you're going to need a truck to get that kind of work done. They've got them down at Work Trucks. You'll save money, and that's the name of the game. If you want to make a profit, you got to keep that revenue coming in and keep your overhead down. So there are two ways to do that with Work Trucks. One of those is, of course, on the front end, you're going to save money on the price of the vehicle because these are pre-owned. On the other end, it's going to save you time because you're not having to stop what you're doing that keeps the money coming in to go research these trucks, find these trucks, drive to go look at one of them, haggle with some knucklehead, hope that it all checks out, spend all the time checking it out. I mean, this is just a smart business decision. Let them be basically your fleet managers. When you get done with the one you have and you want to get it offloaded, they'll take it off your hands, get you outfitted with a new one. Maybe you want to change up the configuration there as your business changes. They can handle all that. If they don't have a configuration down on site, they will go and go find it out there in the market. Don't you love that? It is Work Trucks. Good folks down there, box trucks, flatbeds, pickups, and everything in between. TRUX, WorkTrucksLLC.com, WorkTrucksLLC.com. So we continue with our broadcast. By the way, they're downtown on 3rd Avenue South in downtown Birmingham. So we continue with our broadcast from I need an energy drink. From Cheyenne, Wyoming, man. Doing our thing here this afternoon in the cool breeze. Waiting on this performance that I keep teasing that'll be coming up here in just a few minutes, about 20, 25 minutes, when we come back from the top of the hour break, and we'll be watching these performances. You'll notice the crowd will start trickling in here and claiming their seats because they're trying to find shade too. And this arena, it's pretty cool. The cover design, if you are looking at it online and some of the visuals we're showing you, they've got this sort of multi-tiered rooftop, all of this timber frame and just beautifully done. But it's creating the neatest shade for the spectators, but the sun seems to stay right in the middle of the arena where the dancers are. I mean, I know those kids are going to get hot in all those dance costumes that they wear with their tribes. So we'll be watching some of that here in just a little bit, hopefully as we roll through the afternoon. Taking your calls too, 545-9950 if you want to come over here and hang out with us. I wish we could see more of the activity going on over there in that village. They created an Indian village over there that's they say is as authentic and historically and period correct as you can get. And so that's always fascinating too, to see how that stuff does and how that stuff works. Let me give you this story. I haven't seen any follow-up on it because the dateline that I saw was this story's a couple of hours old. But apparently a big 7.3 earthquake hit today off the shores of Mexico near Guatemala. And this 7.3 is a massive earthquake. Some people are even rating it a 7.4. These things always move around until the scientists are able to do the examination. Apparently it was at about 9.4 miles deep in the Pacific. They did put a tsunami warning out, but I haven't seen any subsequent warnings about a tsunami strike in Mexico or Guatemala. The Pacific Rim has been stunningly active over the last several weeks. And, you know, you always wonder, and we've wondered this since the 80s, when California, I guess the last big earthquake there that did the most damage was the one that happened during the World Series out in the Bay Area, the Bay earthquake. And I'll always remember that. I'll get into that memory in just a minute. But they keep telling us that California is overdue. There's stress on the San Andreas Fault. You'll get a lot of stuff online, particularly on, you know, some of these platforms that just make up headlines to keep attention. And they'll say warnings have gone out. There could be the big one today. And that happens so much, it worries me that it's a cry wolf syndrome with the earthquake. Because we're not sophisticated enough to absolutely give too much of a warning ahead of an earthquake. There is some technology, according to my understanding, that can warn a few minutes ahead of time, but not days. Conditions are seemingly favorable, though, when you look at all the earthquakes that have been happening from the Philippines all the way up through part of the other Asian countries around the Pacific Rim, and we just keep having them. A lot of activity, a lot of volcanic activity in the world too. So, these things do cycle, and the Earth has been breathing and doing these things for a long time, and so we'll keep an eye on that story and see if anything develops out of Mexico. The story I was going to tell was, I remember specifically the night of that, they were having the Bay Area World Series, and which was the Giants and the A's, and so I believe it was on. I'm almost 100% sure. I'm getting a little older, so sometimes my memory will just fade on me. But I think it was Al Michaels and the ABC crew. And the reason I remember that is secretly, and I can admit this now because my father's passed away. My dad was my boss at that time. I was a young college kid and working at night in the radio station trying to make a living and pay the rent. But I smuggled a tiny little television into the radio station. And I would hide it so I could keep an eye on things like that at night while I was spinning those country music albums. I wanted to watch the World Series. So I had this, this thing was like a 5-inch, and you didn't have TVs everywhere back then. And I think I got it for a Christmas present, but it worked. And I could pick up a local ABC affiliate from where our station was. And I had it hidden in a box up on a shelf. And at night when nobody was around, I'd just lock the front door and turn the television on. And I couldn't turn the volume up because I had to talk, and didn't do as much talking as I do now. But I was giving the weather and playing the George Strait songs. Yeah, I was playing the Cheyenne song back then. And I do remember I looked out of the corner of my eye, I could see the camera shake, and I saw something was completely wrong. And I couldn't hear Al Michaels calling that they had just had an earthquake in the middle of that ball game in that stadium. But I know you get a sense of these things. And I went to a break and put some commercials in. And in those days, it wasn't a computer running it for 3 minutes. You had to push the button every 30 seconds and keep an ear on things. But I kept trying to listen, and I remember just scrambling to figure out what the heck is going on. There was no way for me to pick up a CNN. We didn't have the internet. And I remember just being confused. And, boy, the coverage afterwards, when you had those double-decker interstates and bridge connector systems out there in the Bay Area, where the way that works, and some of you have traveled out there, or you remember the coverage of it, you'll have a lane that goes on the bottom, and the lane in the opposite direction is immediately on top. They use the same support structure, and it's a double-decker, almost like a bed bunk bridge. And sure enough, that thing pancaked down and just squished people in between the bridge supports, and the gas leaks and the fires from that big earthquake. And I know there have probably been others. I think L.A. had one since then, but that's the one that sticks out in my mind as one of the big ones. And so we don't know what's going to happen, but that stuff is repeatedly in the news, it seems, especially over the last few weeks. Let me hit the phones, and let's get some more of your phone calls in, because we're going to have the Native American dancers coming up in just a little while. So, by the way, I keep getting corrected. I think out here they want to be called American Indians, which is a whole lot easier to say. Let's go to Darwin on a cell phone. Darwin, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I was going to talk to you a little bit about the president's speech last night and the election security.
Yep.
Our election security is a joke. Are you familiar with a guy by the name of Dinesh D'Souza?
Oh, yeah. I watched the Mules movie, and Dinesh was all over this stuff.
Right. And, the recount, if you go into a recount, it is almost a joke. It's an embarrassment, really, because all you're doing is recounting the votes that was there. And, of course, if there's illegal votes in there, they automatically come up with the same number.
Yeah, it's a fig leaf that they're doing something about it. If you don't clean up the voter rolls before an election, you're going to have a fraudulent election. And what we know now, he was focused on, in his documentary, D'Souza was focused on the muling of the ballots, the late-night drops, the sudden manufacturing of the ballots. But right. that was the back end of this process, too. Before all that, we now know the Chinese hacked the system, created fake identities, manipulated voter rolls and data. We think the machines were hacked and manipulated. And the muling of the ballots was just the last step. My theory's always been Trump had so many people show up that his same-day voting outvoted their ballot stuffing operations because of COVID. By the way, it makes COVID seem even more suspicious in a whole new light, because they used COVID to change the election rules, and that all originated out of China. Now we know they were managing the data, they were funding the BLM riots, and they were creating fake IDs to create these fake ballots. So the Chinese were running the whole thing. The Democrats and leftists in this country just a bunch of.
That was used.
I don't know all that detail yet, but everything that's always connected in my mind is now getting validated with real evidence, actual documents on a website at the White House that we can all go look at. That's a hell of a lot more than these bedwetters have ever put up against Trump with all their conspiracy theories with that stupid Russian hoax.
Exactly. I just wondered if you knew about that and could talk about it on air.
Well, when I get more, I'll talk about it more. It just hit us last night, and I hadn't been able to be as exposed to it today as I wanted to with the duties I've had today to get set up for the show.
Well, you have a great day.
Thank you, Darwin.
I'll let you go. Thank you.
There's Darwin. He's got it on his mind, too. Look, we'll go back to that for just a minute because we did talk about it in the first hour quite a bit. There's so much more to come on this. The dam is kind of broken. We got names, we got participants, we know the agencies, we see the coordination. I'll tell you this, every bit of what you see in these documents and the theories we've had on this show, and my brethren that do this for a living as well, make more sense to anybody with sense than Joe Biden getting 81 million votes. That old fart did not get 81 million votes. That was completely manufactured. And so was everything that followed it. That whole thing was a script, man. We're not living in a country that decides its own fate. We're watching a movie, man. We're watching Democrat left-wing theater, commie theater play out on our TV screens, with the narrators being the blow-dried losers in the mainstream media. And it's amazing. And I'm telling you, if we don't fix it, there are some smart, intelligent, wise people have just had enough. They've just had enough. And honestly, sometimes I feel like we're playing into that because I think that's what they want to do is push us to the point where we give up on the democratic process and then we descend into chaos. All we got to do is fix it. All we need is some Republicans with courage. Let me get on them for a minute. The Democrats are the beneficiaries of all this stuff. Put it this way, between the 250,000 people that they've identified that are foreigners that are on the freaking voter rolls, which is the whole point of bringing them here, they put these people on the voter rolls. They got fake people on the voter rolls. The voter rolls are not to be trusted. So the elections can't be trusted. And so on top of all that and the amplification these stories get, I mean, you just got thing after thing that makes zero sense. And now when you thought you were crazy in 2020, when suddenly you were being censored by your government and told you couldn't go to church and they wouldn't dare let you call it the China virus and all this manipulation and that was happening to create the chaos. Now you know you weren't crazy. Your elections are being decided by foreign governments and foreign citizens of foreign governments. This is how we lose a country. Americans should decide who represents them. That's the simplest, most fundamental thing in the world. Anyway, I'll get on my soapbox about it. Y'all know I can rant. Here we go. Quick break. Let's keep everything on track. Let me tell you all about Alabama Gold Refinery over there in Homewood, right on 29th, across from the big Regions Bank. These are my folks if you want to buy, sell, or trade gold, silver, or platinum. They'll do all of it for you. It's an honest shop. It's a straightforward shop. Steve's a great guy to get to know. You've got a resource. So if you want to incrementally do it, start to build up your gold reserves and hide it. I don't care if you put it in a mason jar and bury it in the backyard, whatever you want to do with it. Hide it behind Meemaw's picture over the fireplace. That's your business. That's the whole point of it. You can secure some wealth and your assets and do it properly with AGR. AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. Y'all go see them again. Great hours, great security around the location. Easy to get to from our whole listening area. It's Alabama Gold Refinery, AGR, AlabamaGoldRefinery.com. Live here in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Back here in just a minute. Stay tuned. Leland Live on the road. Here we go live again in Cheyenne, Wyoming at the daddy of them all. We're at the big rodeo festival fairgrounds, about to have some Indian dance performances. It'll get super loud and crowded around me pretty quick. You see more and more people showing up over here at the pavilions for the shopping and whatnot. Should be a fun time here in just a few minutes on the show. You see I got my sleeves down. Now, what I learned when I first came here years ago is I was walking around with my sleeves rolled up. Cowboys don't do that. I was immediately exposed as an amateur. They also made fun of this little belt buckle I had that I thought was cool. It was just too small. This guy said, "Did your girlfriend give you that?" I was like, "What's wrong with my belt buckle?" So it's kind of funny to me to see how they do it. But it's very practical. You keep your sleeves down because of the sun. These guys are out riding horses, and it just, the functionality of what they do becomes a little bit more than that. My camera's decided to follow all those people. Sometimes it'll just turn itself into auto track. So I just stalked via camera a bunch of regular tourists who are just trying to mind their own business. Yeah, so functionality, form will follow function, and function can turn into style and fashion. So that ties me all the way back to Southern Skies Dermatology, man. Getting overexposed in the sun is a hazard of the business if you're an actual cowboy or cowgirl. You're just out there in it, and in this dry, searing sun. Some people ask me the difference in the heat. The difference to me, if I had to describe it, this is more searing heat, and what we have back home is just more oppressive heat. It just makes you feel defeated, and it gets in your clothes, and it's on you the minute you step outside with the humidity. But out here, it's more of a burning, searing heat, and that's exactly Southern Skies Dermatology has come along to do just that, to take care of people that get you overdo it sometimes, whether you're working out there in it or playing out there in it, you can overdo it, and it can manifest itself into very dangerous skin cancer. Sometimes it's a benign form of skin cancer. I've had family members with basal cell carcinomas, and you still need to get those removed. They're just going to continue to grow. But in the case of some of the melanoma in particular, I mean, that's something that, as my family has learned, can travel internally, and then you've got a completely different battle in your life to survive. And so do the things, wear the long sleeves like I'm showing you, do the stuff that they ask you to do at the dermatologist. But the biggest thing you can do, of all the things you can do, is, of course, go get checked, get that baseline, know where you stand. If you ever do see something that gives you concern, go get it checked out. Don't be stubborn. But they can also do some preventive stuff with you and let you know that you're all clear. And based on your markers, and that involves a lot of things, your history of overexposure, your family history, genetics, those things all come into play. And once they assess all that for you, for example, we had a listener that reached out and said they had a precancerous condition, and so they had to go back more because they had cells that are prone to manifest that way. So that was good that they went, and so now they can be vigilant. And I appreciated that outreach. So here's my push: get over there and get it done. Make them your specialists when it comes to skin cancer, and you won't regret taking care of yourself. I used to be stubborn like a lot of guys, and you couldn't get me to the doctor. I prided myself on never having to go to the doctor and never calling in sick. I had 20-something years I never called in sick for work. I showed up. I learned that from my grandfather. They didn't, in his day, they didn't have the luxury of just calling in sick. If you didn't work, you didn't eat. And so I got that pride from him. But that's kind of stupid when it comes to, it really is when it comes to checkups and the things that we're always encouraged to do. Y'all, it is Southern Skies Dermatology. This is what they do. They find it, they remove it, and they are 100% ready to take care of you. Great locations all around town. And, of course, a new one, they've been working on it, and I'm learning firsthand construction can take a minute. I even heard them talking about that today when they were dedicating this arena out here. So they're working on it, and as soon as they're ready to open the doors and cut the ribbon and get it all staffed out, we will let you know, and you'll have an even more convenient location over on the 280 area to take care of business and get that stuff checked for you. It's SouthernSkiesDermatology.com, SouthernSkiesDermatology.com. Y'all go and see them and get those appointments and tell Dr. Mario and the team I said, hey. All right, let me flip around and make sure I haven't missed anything. One thing I wanted to follow up on was I had a lot of passionate thoughts yesterday about Marco Rubio in particular and his speech before that group of nations that they pulled together to deal with this violence coming from the American left, to give it a theme to not just the American left, the global left. And he crystallized it in a way, and I thought maybe it was just me. Maybe I was just feeling nostalgic because I was listening to it early in the morning. My mind was clear, and I was hanging on every word. But then last night after the show, after I got to sit down and sort of decompress a little bit from all the activity of the show setup, I was watching and listening to and reading a bunch of other pundits that saw it the same way I did. I mean, I saw pundits I respect like Katie Pavlich and others saying every American ought to see this. So I'm going to give one more push before we move on to other things and we run out of show here this week. If you got some downtime this weekend, I don't think the speech is more than 20 minutes. No good speech should be. I mean, I just don't think it is. And so what you need to do is find that thing, listen to the whole thing, watch the whole thing. I've not even watched it. I've just heard the audio of it. But the themes in it, the truths in it, the crystallization of who we are and who they are, what the enemy of this country stands for and what we need to be doing about it was as clear and concise and bold and brave as I've ever heard. And unless somebody changes my mind, and it's completely possible, and I said this a lot yesterday, I'm on Team Rubio. Now, he hadn't even announced that he's running, and he may not. I mean, he may decide he doesn't want the rigors of that job, but I would imagine he would because he's run before. And then you got J.D. Vance, and I'll just say the Republican team, despite the fact that their members of Congress are the weakest I think I've ever seen. These are the weakest people that the Republican Party has ever put forward to this nation. They're just feckless at this point, despite all these dangers. For example, despite the speech Trump gave last night over the corruption in our elections have been jacked by a foreign country, despite everything Rubio laid out about the global advancement of the left. These bastards in the Republican Party control the House, the Senate. They got the Supreme Court stacked, and they got Trump in the presidency. They can't find a way to be effective. That they cannot find a way to be effective. It is not leading. That is not leadership. But back to Rubio. I don't know who's going to be in it in 2 years. Is a long time. This guy's moment is coming. This guy's moment is coming, and unless somebody else jumps in, I think he ought to run. I think J.D. ought to step aside. We avoid a lot of scandals that way, and let's see what happens. That's just my 2 cents worth. We'll be back here in Cheyenne in just a minute. They're getting ready to set up for this live show they're going to be presenting next to us, and we'll see how that goes in the 4 o'clock hours. And while we wait for that to start, we got time for your calls, too. So bring them, 545-9950. Leland Live, Talk 99.5.